No way. Today's mission is to abandon the fuel tank from here and draw fuel from the car. As you saw from the last video, we had to fill this tank off the start cart, run a hose, hook it into the car, or hook it into the jet, and it's just a bit of a pain. So what my goal is to use the car's the car's fuel tank to hold jet fuel, and then we'll have an auxiliary sort of a fuel cell up front for the gasoline, because realistically this doesn't go very far. The web says that this thing will hold 19 gallons of fuel. The tank sits under here, that's why I'm randomly pointing at the inside of the car. The internet says this thing will hold 19 gallons of fuel. This thing uses at full blast about 5 gallons a minute. We're not running a full blast for 4 minutes straight, so it should be okay. This will also let us use the car's fuel gauge to measure the level. Of course, the car's pump, the pressure's too high, but the flow rate's not there either. So we've got special transfer pump. Let's have a look, see what's in here. Okay. So you also saw in the last video, we were using our Milwaukee transfer pump. It's low pressure, high volume. That's kind of how the transfer pumps work. And that's all we need here. The specs call for an inlet fuel pressure to be about 20 psi, which is perfect for these little things, but a high flow rate. So we just need applied pressure to the fuel high pressure pump, then we can use this. So this little kit, I mean, we don't need this will come in handy for another project later. Just came with the hose. We've got all this hose. I'm sure you know. We've got the highest quality hose here, but this is why I spent a whopping 100 Canadian dollars on. Get out of this package. Transfer pump, 12 volt. The plan is to take this pump, we'll mount it in the car. We have an in and an out here. So pull from the tank, send right to the engine. So one thing we'll do, get some light on the situation here. I started cutting this out. Fuel tank pump access is right here, so we're just going to cut this out. We also need a drain hole because this jet does leak fuel once in a while. Now what we have to do is get this pump assembly out. The pump itself is going to go into a different bucket for the small fuel cell, and then our transfer pump is going to use the same same everything. I'm hoping just put a hole in here or something. We'll open it up and see what it looks like. And all we're doing is using a drop tube, sucking the fuel out, sending it, and away we go. Okay. Now, this is a returnless system. So we got our connector here, our fuel line here that probably has pressure in it. Don't worry about that. You know, before I started this, I probably should have read on how to take this apart. I'm sure this is not how you're supposed to do it.
without breaking it. How does this come off? I figured I'd get this friggin' line disconnected. Oh, do I get impatient and cut that? No. Bucket full. Well, there's the sitting unit. That's the level. I have no idea what this guy is.
Put the car up on the lift. We're looking to sort of get a better idea of the fuel system, the stock fuel system of the car. It does have a supply and a return here, so we're figuring out what's going to go where. Unfortunately, the tank here is a saddle style, so it doesn't have a second pump, but it's got a tube that runs from this side to this side, and it uses, we'll show you on the pump housing, it uses a Venturi effect to siphon, I suppose, or to pull fuel from this side to this side. It also uses a dual sending unit, so the ECU takes the average of both sending units for your fuel level, and I do want to have the gauge, the dash gauge, fuel gauge working for the fuel level for the jet fuel, so I do want that working. But as we've mentioned before, this project, it's very much budget friendly. So we're going to reuse, this is the bucket, I've already torn it apart, so apologies for not taking it every step of the way. No, I could not get that fitting off, so but we're not going to be reusing this fitting anyways. But I do plan on reusing this pump. What I plan on doing with, this is a factory G8 pump, in-tank pump, but what I'm thinking about doing is I've got this old tank from a lawnmower, cut a hole in the top, set the tank in there, we'll put something in there to keep it from moving around, and then just sort of silicone cover back on, and that should be sufficient for what we want to do. I'll modify this to go in there, and then the hat, because I want to keep the sending unit here, I want to keep the bucket, it's already got the height, everything's proper, so all we have to do is disconnect this hose from here, and then this pump's separate, and then we can modify the hat for our transfer pump suction and our return. And we can reassemble this for what we need. If only I remembered which way it went. I think it came out that way. I think it's this way. Let's put those springs on. So that's how it'll sit. But I'm going to take it back apart because I need to modify this for our fittings. So how fittings, I have a bunch of extra bits and pieces and parts from the aircraft that the jet came from. I'm going to see if I've got a bulkhead style fitting that'll work for our application. Stand by. So I got that for the jet, and I got this for the APU. So, oh wow, that would actually work out pretty good. I don't know if you can see that fitting there, that AN size is big. This would also work for the supply. These are more, I'm not going to say American, these are more aircraft standard AN fittings.
whereas this box is more of the European metric, hard to find stuff. Ooh, darn, I wish that wasn't cut. That would have worked out really well. Okay, see if I can put together my thoughts here. There we go. See that extra. This feels like stainless. Oh yeah, look at all the crap in there. That's been on a while. Okay, so if this is all stainless, that means even I can weld this, which I think it is. It's too shiny for aluminum. Am I right? Okay. Okay, so what we've got, what we're gonna do is this bulkhead fitting. This one's gonna go through here. I'm hoping I've got room for, this will be our supply. So from the tank out here to the transfer pump. And then after the pressure relief valve, this guy will go in. We'll make the room somewhere, and it's just going to splash back in. On this end, I have an old fitting off an old Mini X I had. I'm going to cut the threads off. I'm going to weld it on, about that height. Weld that on there so it's detachable from the stainless bulkhead fitting. Yeah, we've got some 8AN hose. This is going to be for the... This 8AN hose is going to be for the car engine. And we got 12AN, not big 3/4 inch 12AN stuff. Look at these fittings, look how big they are. Holy moly, I'm not used to that. Anyways, this is the fuel supply for the jet. Full blast, this thing consumes 5 gallons a minute. 5 gallons a minute is a lot of gas. So we need the capacity, the flow. So we're going to use this size. Why are we using this nylon braided stuff over the stainless steel? Well, from what I read, and I could very well be wrong, this has an inner steel jacket underneath the nylon. So if we pull this back, we can see there is a braid in there. It's not quite as thick as that, but there is a braid nonetheless to help protect from abrasion. I also don't plan on there being much abrasion in this, but that's why I went with this stuff. And I think the black looks nicer. Found it. Maybe. That's good. What we can do is set these in and start building it up for our depth. I want to be an inch, half to 1 inch below, or sorry, above the bottom of the tank. Don't need to pick up all that crap, and at the end of the day, that small amount's not going to make a difference. Six and a half is into the threads. Rotate this guy. High quality stainless. I'm going to chop this in half. This high quality galvanized stainless. I'm going to chop. We're going to basically make 2 fittings out of this stuff right here with my trusty make everybody perfect welder with some stainless wire. Okay, I know when you're welding galvanized, you want to get all that galvanized coating off. Focusing is a bit of a challenge. So we got all the galvanized coating off. I mean, technically it's going to work. It's going to save us a couple bucks and it's going to work. Now, as I've mentioned before in my intro, I'm not a welder. I'm not a fabricator. I know just enough to be dangerous. And I know that this is going to be low pressure, like max 25 psi type of thing on the one end. The other end will be probably a vacuum. It'll be sucking fuel, so it doesn't have to be structural. So what I'm saying is it'll be good enough for what we need. Where is that fitting? Oh, for crying out loud. Story of my life. Looking for parts. It's the 12AN90. There it was, gone. Son of a gun. I mean, I need it. I want to protect these threads as much as possible, and I've seen folks use what's it called? Stuff. Aluminum foil, tin foil, whatever you want to call it. I don't have any out here, but I do have some of this sheet metal foil tape. So I'm going to see if it works, and I'm sure everyone's screaming at the screen right now, but I want to, the problem is this is going into a fitting that's a straight threads, whereas the NPT are tapered. So I want to protect the threads as much as possible. So we'll see. Maybe this is stupid. Maybe it's not. We'll all find out together. Smells like hot glue. Weird. Oh, that's not working at all. I'm gonna see if I can find some aluminum foil. Okay, we've got our new fittings made. Not terrible. Obviously not super, not terrible. Okay, quick update. Fuel system. I ended up using new lines for these guys. We've got the transfer pump in place. And we suck it from the tank, from the hat that goes in there, into our transfer pump. We can isolate our fuel filter. It's a water separator. It's got a drain on the bottom. And here's our, again, our fuel pressure regulator. And return back to the tank. I tried to reuse these lines here, but this old stainless, so whatever this coating is not cooperating, and there's no real rubber on the inside, so they're not going to work with the new fittings anyways. So unfortunately, couldn't use them. But we had enough line and extra fittings, so also from the regulator, it's going to come through. Another isolation valve here. Here's a boost pressure gauge. Eventually this will probably be an electric sending unit, or we'll put that one here. This is the one again on the back of the high pressure fuel pump. So what the plan is we're going to take this old lawnmower fuel cell, I suppose. It's probably a gallon, maybe. I mean, all we're doing is idling the car around. Really not doing a whole heck of a lot. I want to drill a hole here. We're going to set the old car fuel pump in there, somehow rig it so this isn't squished on the bottom. I've got the old everything around here. Where is, maybe I don't have that. Anyways, the plastic little clamp for this guy. So we'll fasten that in there. probably to the wall somehow. And then we've got our bulkhead fittings that are going to go here, our supply that hooks onto this guy, and our return from the car. And then we're just going to cut a piece of tin or something and RTV it back in place, and that should work because the cap has its own vent. Yeah, that's the plan. I mean, what's the worst we can do? This is in the trash anyways. Committed now. Bulkhead fitting. This is the supply from the pump. We have the bulkhead fitting. We have a line that seals to that bulkhead fitting. I'm going to cut it right probably here. I've got, oh no! My compression fitting exploded on me here. So, thankfully I have some more to make sure I know how they go back together. Set that aside. So we're going to cut this. That's going to slide on compression fitting. Transition to an NPT. Because I have this stuff lying around to a coupling. I know we're getting pretty wild here. To a barb. And on the barb, we'll go boop. Made some progress on the tank for the car engine. So again, this tank is from a lawn tractor. We've got the factory line going into a barb 90 that I had laying around, and then I threw a compression fitting up into this this AN bulkhead fitting, and that'll be our supply to the engine, and our return is going to come back in here and just dump in there. Alright, it's going to sit somewhere like that. Obviously it's just temporarily on blocks, but in that area. Alright, let's lift the car up. See how crusty the underside of this thing is. I do have a post. I do have this little post just to keep saying, hey, there's a shot from the underside. Look at that guy. We'll get into more on the car videos, but we can see, you know, we got our C channel up here and help supporting here, and it ends up coming right over top of the mount here. You'll notice the back tires aren't moving because we welded in a 1x1 to help keep the car from sagging, but she is a little crusty under here. That's why we got such a good deal, and that's why we're not going to set any speed records with it. Okay. These are our fuel lines. We got brake lines, fuel lines. I've got the lines disconnected. Like an idiot, I cut just beyond one of the rear brake lines, so we'll see if that holds or not. But this is where one of the clamps was, and it's nice and clean. So I think what we'll do is cut right there, and then we can put we'll sand all this off, and I think we'll put the what's it called? We'll put the compression fittings on there. All right, here we go. We're going to secure our fuel cell. I'm not going up there anymore, just because where we cut the lines underneath the car. We're gonna come up through here. Just waiting on a couple more AN fittings to show up. I had the wrong ones here. So what I'm gonna do, that was just for mock-up. We're going to secure this on top of the seat base. A bunch of these guys. So we'll clamp it, screw it, and that'll be for now. I do want to run this thing this weekend, so I'm in a bit of a rush to get it in. Okay, here's our wiring update. We've got, let's trim these zip ties a little bit. We have our connector for our car fuel tank, fuel pump. Zip tied around here. Oh, I've got to zip tie this into here. I'm gonna wait till this sits on the hat for the tank so I get the right slack. So we've got standard ignition. This pump is going to work as it did in the car. I also wired in a relay for this transfer pump, which is the boost pump for the jet. I've wired it two ways. One, the battery's disconnected in the car, so it's 12 volt. So we have a switch here so I can turn it on and off from here to test for leaks, do whatever I need to. But I also have it wired up to the control panel, which comes through here, which goes over to control panel here. I just brought it out to the bench to work on. I've got to label it yet. We've added our boost pump switch, turn the boost pump on from here remotely. And we've also wired in a low fuel pressure light. So when the pressure is below, I want to say 7 pounds, this light will be on. So when we go to turn the master switch on, this light should be on. Boost pump, the light should go out. If it doesn't go out, either the boost pump's no good or I got a kinked line. Or a blocker somewhere, which I have had in the past. So if you look in the car, passenger side, so we'll go through that fuel, we've already gone through the fuel system a million times, where it comes into here, and on the bottom of this, just because of how it was configured before, it's hard to see, but there's a pressure switch. So when it gets above, I think it's a 7 pound switch, it opens the contact so that the light goes out. We also have a gauge here for reference, again another filter, and then it'll eventually get back into engine filter here. So I'll try to explain and move stuff as we go. This blocked off, this is the old fuel line. I've also RTV'd it down there, because remember the tank, the top of this hat sits down here, but the tank actually comes up here. So once we fill it up for the first time, we'll see how many leaks we have. The other thing I need to consider is this is the crossover pipe that goes to the driver's side saddle in the tank. And the way I've got it here is we're going to just stuff it onto this fitting here so that the pickup is coming from here. This is going to sit like that, like it's pretty tight. And this is hopefully going to pull, holy stuff everywhere. Hopefully it's going to pull from this, if not equally, pretty close too. Let's get that arm in. Good, good, good. I guess we'll find out when we run out of fuel in 7 minutes of run time. Now place your guesses. How many leaks are we going to have? Well, I just left enough room for that. I mean, I skillfully left an adequate amount of space. Sounds like I'm breathing heavy and laboring. It's because I am. We just applied battery voltage, battery connector. Let's just see if this pump runs. I got to put a fuse in the fuse holder. Let's do that. Take 1, 2, fuse is in. Just bump it. Okay, stand by. Power, is my ground no good? Okay, well, this is embarrassing. Get our meter out. Do some troubleshooting. Okay, I need to do it again. And 12 volt. Everything seems to be correct. Get in. All right. Why did I zip tie everything immediately? Oh. Look at that guy. I bet you that's got to be on. What do you know? I was just testing you guys. Look what showed up. Some proper 8AN fittings. Wonderful. I know it's not a how-to, but let me show you how I do these fittings. So what I do, take my tape, see if you can see me here. find my, I mean, it doesn't have to be exact. We got lots of room in here. That's my length. I'm gonna wrap it a few times with electrical tape. Okay, now we'll do the same with our return. So go to here. Alright, we'll take it off the car and I'll meet you back at the vise, at the bench. I decided to identify the supply side with a little tie wrap here, zip tie. Normally I do it on this side, but the camera angle is not really conducive to that, so we'll try it on this side. So, get this mounted in our fancy thing. So we're going to use an angle grinder, cut through here, and then we'll put the end on. Watch your ears. Okay, now that that's off, you can see all the bits of debris that came out, or when I cut it. And make sure you blow all that gunk out. Comes in pieces, 2 pieces. Make sure there's no frays on that. Get that end. Get it started. Push, push. We're pushing until I don't know if you can see it, but the rubber bottoms out on the lip in there. Then I'll set it in the vise with our fancy plastic doodad. Silicone spray. Push it in and get it started. I hold this side and push in. What's nice with the braided is you can see, it looks like carbon fiber. It's got a weave to it, right? So you can see on the weave at the edge of the nut here, if when you screw this in, if it's going to push the hose back out, which is good. You don't want to do that. You don't want it to push out. So we can keep an eye on it. And just like that. Looking good. Until she bottoms out. There you go. Wonderful. And all you do is you do that to the other hose. And there, you've got some lines. Cool. Time has come. Put some gas in it. See what happens. Oh yeah. All right. Good enough. Good enough. Stop. 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 So this is gonna roughly be the cover that's going on it. Let's do some splash mitigation. No way. We're running. Yeah, nothing's going to return, which I find surprising. Maybe that's not a return. Well, hey, you know what? It works. I'm not getting splashed. There's enough fuel for what we're doing. Happy, happy guy. Let's go shut it off. I do have to pull that pump out. Sorry, it's not a pump anymore. I guess it's the hat. I was looking at, remember we saw the fuel gauge wasn't all the way empty. I did look at a parts breakdown or blow up of the pump and other pictures of the whole pump assembly. And I do have the sending unit on
backwards.
We have a full tank, reading full. Let's run up the pump, valve open, run up the pump. No leaks. Do some vacuuming for before I run it tomorrow. Sweet.
Here we are for another test. First time testing the fuel system.
So we're all set up, ready to go.
I'm gonna try out my new chest mounted camera, see if it works. And yeah, try not to break anything else. Here we go.
Okay, start the APU. Good. So what had happened is all this fuel, all this wet ground is because the igniters decided not to ignite, do their ignition stuff. So we're going to sort that out. Okay, so we found nothing, possibly low voltage. So let's we're just going to try it again. Okay, take about 17. It's the boost pump.
Yeah?
It quit. It's got a, I think it's got a duty cycle.
Oh.
Which is really annoying.
So what's that doing for it then?
It's overheating and blowing a fuse.
Oh, fuck.
So, we'll be back. Okay, so it is blowing a fuse because it's a, how would you say it? It is a...
Is there a better brand of fuse, you know what I mean?
No, it's not the brand of fuse, it's the,
It's a voltage.
no,
No?
it's the, you're just saying words now.
Autovascular.
There you go. I need to find a fuse. Okay, so what I was saying to the camera, hey, it's a 40 amp, let her eat. It's an import special, so it's, I think it's got a duty cycle, so it blew a fuse. It was originally sized correctly, but let's throw a big fuse in and see what happens. Firing this up for the third time. Okay, well, we haven't exactly figured out the problem. We think it's a pump. The fuel level has gone down. It is below the hat here. But I think there's a duty cycle to this Vivor pump, because at 155 watts, it blew a 20 amp fuse. It didn't blow the 40, but I'm pretty sure we did start it. So we'll upgrade the pump and get back with the next run. It'll be for a little bit though. With that, until next time, thanks for watching.